right. Well, welcome. This is the course introduction for BESC 201, section 700. This is an online course, online asynchronous, and this is a synchronous meeting to kind of get everyone prepared for what's coming and understand the course basics. So, all right, great. Thank you all for responding to the poll. I'm going to stop sharing, but I think the poll will stay active. And go to, now we're going to share a different screen. Just my people. Hold on. I lost y'all for a second. Okay, here we go. Share, let's go to screen 2. I think this should work. There we go. All right, so y'all see a slide that says poll everywhere? Awesome. Okay, so howdy. My name is Dr. Katie Stoddard, and I teach BESC 201. So just briefly, make sure we're recording and all the things are happening. We are recording. Okay, just briefly. So the idea behind this is that we're going to have a discussion about the course concept and the syllabus. And I know you all can read the syllabus, but I do want to point out some things that get commonly missed or are really important to understand, and then give you all the opportunity to ask questions here. So you start out on the right foot and we get it's a smooth start to the semester. So as an introduction, my name is Dr. Katie Stoddard. I'm an instructional associate professor, which means I am not on the tenure track. So I don't have a research program in the environmental sciences, but I am also the associate director for the Scholarship of Teaching and Learning at the Center for Teaching Excellence. So I have a split appointment. So I'm 50% faculty and 50% administration. And my administrative role at the Center for Teaching Excellence, or the CTE, where what I do there is I help other faculty to study the courses that they're teaching so that they can improve them based off of data that they collect from their students and their classes, and really to try to improve the quality of the teaching and the learning. So that's what I do with my associate director role. So I have multiple offices on campus. So my faculty office is in the plant pathology building on West Campus, and I'm in room 322 on the 3rd floor. And I will tell you that I'm happy to see you in my office, but just know that my schedule takes me all around campus. So I generally try to be generally try to be in my office, my plant pathology office, on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. And I have another office in ILCB, and I have a makeshift office in Blocker. So all that to say, I move around the campus a lot for my jobs and my roles. So if you want to see me, if you really want to like set up a time that's outside of my office hours, then I recommend that you send me an email so that I can make sure to meet you. And depending on what the day is, it will determine where we meet. So some days I'm all over. So my office hours are posted in Canvas. I have face-to-face office hours on Wednesday, and I have Zoom office hours on Thursdays, and I call them student consult hours. And they're really just meant so that you can come talk to me about whatever it is that you want to talk to me about. But if those hours don't work for you, then by all means, just send me an email, and we'll find a time that does. So a little bit about me and why I'm qualified to teach this course. So I am a graduate of Texas A&M. So I graduated with my undergraduate in BESC, which is, you might imagine, it's this course. So I took this course as a freshman way back when. And then I graduated in 2005, and I went on and got my master's here in water management and hydrologic science. And from there, I went to work for a small company called KBA. They have since been bought up by a groundwater company, but the work that I did for them was largely stormwater monitoring, but I did some Endangered Species Act. I did some phase 1 work. So I have experience in the environmental industry as a consultant, and I know what that work is like, and I'm still connected with people that do this work. And I have conversations and a large network in this field. So all that to say, like, I know what the work looks like and I know how to get there. So I was at KBA when the housing bubble burst in 2009 and decided that was a good time to go back to get my PhD because my clients that paid my bills at KBA stopped paying their bills because they were housing builders. And so it was a good time to jump ship and change course. And so I went and got my PhD at the University of North Texas in Denton in environmental science. Really loved my time there. And I studied pharmaceuticals in the environment and environmental sociology to some extent, what motivated people to take environmental action. And I found it really interesting. From there, I got my first appointment at A&M Texarkana in Texarkana. I was there for 2 years. I was a department head. I started an environmental science minor. And after that, I was recruited to come back to Texas A&M, largely from the network that I built here as a student. So I made networks and connections here. I worked in labs, and the people that I knew from that, I'd stayed in contact with as mentors, and I was recruited back, and it was exciting to be back. So I've been back since 2015. So this is my 10th year to be back at A&M. So the other thing that I want to mention is that because I mentioned earlier that I'm not on the tenure track, and so my role as a faculty member has been predominantly teaching. And one of the things that I do is I invest heavily in learning how to be a better educator. And back in 2020, before we knew what 2020 was going to bring, I signed up for a year-long professional development program called AQ, or the Association of College and Universities Educators. And this was a year-long certification process to become certified in effective college instruction. Now, little did I know, and no one knew at the time, that 2020 was going to turn into what it did. So I was teaching, everything went online, and then they asked us, do you want to stay in the program or not? And so I did. And so I would teach during the day, and I did AQ on nights and weekends, and ultimately got the certification for this. But in short, what this means is I have a lot of training about how to develop and teach college courses. And so just know that the things in the course are there for a reason. It's not by happenstance. Everything is strategically mapped to try to achieve the learning objectives in the most efficient way and to help you have the best possible experience. So some of the things that we were trained in were designing effective courses, establishing productive learning environments, using active learning, promoting higher order thinking, and assessing instruction. So just know that there is a reason why the things exist and why I'm set things up, and you will see some of that, but I just want you to know that none of this is random. Like, it's all really well thought out, and I've been teaching this class now for 12 years. So it's been refined over and over again. So I need you to know, and I'm required to tell you, that you are enrolled in a core curriculum course. So we're a life and physical sciences core curriculum course, which many of you probably know because that's probably the main reason you're taking this class. Because it is a core curriculum course, there are core curriculum learning objectives that I'm required by law to do and to make sure that build you up in these skills. And those are critical thinking, communication, empirical and quantitative skills, and teamwork. So with critical thinking, this includes creative thinking, innovation, inquiry, analysis, evaluation, and synthesis of information. Communication includes effective development and interpretation and expression of ideas in the written format, in the oral format, in a visual format. Empirical and quantitative skills means manipulating and analyzing numerical data and observable facts, and drawing conclusions from that. And then teamwork is more than just making a team project. It's actually about developing the skills to work in a team and work towards a shared goal or purpose. So to tell you all this, so we're going to look at I want to spend some time looking at the course learning objectives so you know what you're in for and why everything is the way that it is. So in the syllabus, you'll see that each one of these core curriculum objectives has a number, and that aligns with most of the learning objectives in the course. So first and foremost, notice that at the very beginning, it says Bloom's level. And Bloom's is a taxonomy of higher learning. And so it's built as a pyramid. And at the bottom of the pyramid, you have things like remembering and understanding. And at the top of the pyramid, you have things like creation. So you can't create something if you don't understand the basics of it. And so as you move higher up in the pyramid, you get to higher order thinking skills. And that is what I do in this course. So we start with the basics and then we build from there. So at the basics, the goal is for students to be able to recognize facts and fundamental facts and information about environmental sciences. And then I want you to be able to understand some central concepts about key ideas within this, like climate change and environmental health and toxicology and environmental policy. So understand those to some extent. And then we're going to build from there. After that, I want you to be able to apply the scientific method to solve an environmental problem. And you're going to get this chance with a case study that happens early on in the semester. And so you're going to use the scientific method to address this. The next thing is to apply. So you're going to have the chance to calculate your ecological footprint, get that in a quantitative number, and then you're going to select a lifestyle habit or pattern to track and collect data for over the course of the semester, and you're going to record that data and analyze that data. You're also going to analyze environmental issues, look at their impacts, the purposes, or the impacts, and how you could have solutions. This is largely from the team project. That data that you took from your ecological footprint, you're going to analyze that, draw informed conclusions, and look at that over the course of the semester. You're also going to evaluate your own thinking. So we're going to use what's called metacognition. It's a big word and it just means thinking about thinking. So I'm going to ask you to think about your own thinking. And you're going to think about what your worldview is about specific environmental issues. And then you're going to determine why you think the way that you do. And you're going to write this out in what's called a worldview essay. And then you're going to submit that in a way that allows other people to see it. And then you're going to be able to read other people's worldviews. So we'll talk about how that works. I want you to evaluate your peers' writings and projects based off of goal-oriented, prioritized, and actionable feedback. So you're going to give peer feedback in this course so that you can, that works with critical thinking, that works with empirical and quantitative skills. You're also going to collaboratively work in a project, in a team, to create a solution for an environmental problem. Okay. Any questions so far? Okay, great. All right. This would be really boring if I just talked for the next hour. So I want you all to build a community to some extent, and we're all in an online class. So here's what's going to happen. I'm going to push you all into breakout rooms, relatively small breakout rooms, and you're going to share these things with your people in your breakout room. So you're going to get up, stretch, and then in the room, I want you to share what your name is and one of your hobbies, and then you repeat it back. So if Raquel and I were in a room, I'd say, "Hi, Raquel, it's nice to meet you. It's exciting to know that you do art." And then we would have a small, tiny conversation about that. So I'm going to set you up in breakout rooms. And okay, I'm going to go with 8 breakout rooms. No, go with 7. Okay. All right. Ready, go. See you all back in a minute. Resume recording. Okay. So the textbook. This is the textbook. I've used it for many, many years. The most current iteration is the 7th, and it's on the far right. But generally, any iteration will probably work. The further back you go, some of the statistics and hard facts or hard data might change, but the principles are all going to stay the same. I've noticed that data in the human population chapter has changed from version to version, but in short, the content is largely the same. So you're welcome to use any. I did hear from a student in my face-to-face class that the book at the bookstore was more expensive than it was to buy or rent from the publisher. So just keep that in mind. It doesn't matter to me, but you are going to want a version of it. And if this is cost prohibitive, then I would ask that you just send me an email and I can talk with you about what kind of options might be available. All right, so breaking it down, how are we going to assess? How are we going to do assessment and learning in this course? So the first thing is there's going to be reading quizzes, which is why you need the textbook. There's not really an assessment really, but the introduce yourself, that's largely just to help build the learning community and you get to know each other in the class. So you don't feel like you're just in a silo taking a class with 99 other people that you never get to see or hear from. That can be really isolating. So I'm trying to do what I can to avoid that. This year is new and I've decided to try mini exams. The reason for this is I didn't have a lot of ways to assess my first two learning outcomes about your foundational knowledge. I'll talk about the mini exams in a moment, and I want to assuage any fears that are around them. We'll have the ecological footprint, which I briefly touched on when we talk about the learning objectives, and I'll talk a little more about that. The worldview reflections, mentioned that earlier. I'll show you a version of the template and give you some ideas of what that's going to look like. The climate change infographic project, I'll touch on that briefly. It's not mentioned very much in the syllabus, it's just a line item. And then there's a team project, which has a good portion that we need to talk about. Okay. One thing I will say though is while all these numbers on the right are relatively high, note that there's 21 reading quizzes that add up to 210 points. The introduce yourself is 10 out of 1,000 points. There's 100 points in the mini ecological footprint project, but that's divided up between 4 things that are submitted. So in short, note that there are lots of small little ways that you will build your knowledge and learning and earn points in this class. So one of the things I want you to recognize is that no one thing should make or break you. So if you have a bad week, something doesn't go well, there's usually ways to recover. And I want to make sure I give my students a variety of opportunities to demonstrate their learning and know that you're not going to get hosed by not doing well on one exam. That's not how it works in this class. Okay, so the reading quizzes. So there's 21 of them, and there's 10 points per quiz, and you have unlimited attempts when they're open. So during the week that they're there, you can try them as many times as you want. Get the highest score you can. Get a 10 every time. There's no reason not to. They open on Mondays at 8 a.m. and they close the following Monday at 2 p.m. The answers become available the following Thursday after submission. And I did think about this last night and realized that the reading quizzes will be really important and very helpful for the mini exams. So I'm going to keep those answers open. So rather than them closed, I think it would be helpful if you could go back and look at your answers. So I'll make sure that you can do that. There is a prerequisite though. You do need to make 100% on the syllabus quiz, and you need to make 90% on the academic honesty quiz in order to get to these. So right now you can get to the orientation module and the week 1 module, but after this week, if you do not have 100% on the syllabus quiz and the 90% on the academic honesty quiz, then you won't be able to access week 2. And I'll talk a little bit about that in a moment as to why that's so important. All right, so we are going to have mini exams. This is a new try for me. And I wanted to talk briefly about why this is here and what it's going to look like. So you'll notice that there's 3 50-point low stakes mini exams. So if we go back and look at, 50 points. So 50 points per exam. So let's go back and look at the other things. So the introduce yourself is worth 10. Worldview reflections, the first one is worth 60. The climate change infographic is worth 80. So one mini exam is actually less than an infographic. So note that, just keep that in mind. It's meant to not be a high stakes kind of thing. It's really meant to give you an opportunity to assess your own learning and for me to see where you're at. So one of the other things that the reason the pedagogical principle behind this is based on what's called the retrieval practice or the testing effect, which says that there's a cognitive principle that demonstrates that learning is significantly improved when people take practice in taking tests and rather than simply restudying. So you can study, but the learning actually happens when you test yourself to see what you know and what you don't know, and then go back and fix the things that you didn't know well. So I want to capitalize on that idea. So that's what's going to happen here. So in order to make that work, in order to work with the testing effect, there has to be an opportunity for you to see what you didn't get right and address it. So that's what's going to happen. So you have the opportunity to review your score and then get in a grade improvement. So what that's going to look like is you're going to identify the questions that you got wrong. You're going to list those. And then you're going to give the reason that you're going to still tell me in your reflection, like, why did you select the answer that you did? Knowing that, like, now that you know it's wrong, just think back, like, why did you pick that? Why did you pick that during the mini exam? And then you're gonna identify the correct answer and briefly explain why that answer is correct and reference course materials. So this will give you the opportunity to assess your learning, to see what you know and what you don't know. And when you get the scores back and you realize, oh, I missed something, then I'm going to give you the chance to like really figure out what you missed and why, and get some of those points back. So the review and grade improvement opportunity will allow students to move up. Like if you do this and you answer all the questions and you give a thoughtful reflections, you can move up one letter grade. So if you got a C on the mini exam, you could get up to a B in the revision. So that's the idea behind that. Does anyone have any questions about this? No? Okay. We'll move on. I'm sure questions will come along later. Okay. Moving on. The Ecological Footprint Project. This one is a favorite among students. So this is where we're really going to work on those quantitative skills in a way that really makes a difference to you. So the first part one is you're going to calculate your ecological footprint, and this will come next week. So I'll give you the link to a really user-friendly ecological footprint calculator, and you're going to calculate your footprint. And that's going to be the number of earths it takes to support your lifestyle and the amount of resources in various categories that it takes to support you. And that is your base data. So you're going to report that out, and then you're going to select a trait of your lifestyle that impacts your ecological footprint. And you're going to select that something that you can track consistently over the course of the semester. And you're going to collect that data throughout the semester. So examples of things that people have collected data on are the minutes that they shower per day, the miles that they drive alone versus in a car, or the miles that they travel alone in a car versus carpooling. And then another common one is the number of meatless meals in a week. Someone started doing food waste, and if you're going to do that, it needs to be estimated by like half cup, or if you have a food scale, then you could do that. But the point about the data that you're collecting is it needs to be comparable from collection point to collection point. So for example, one student once told me, it's like, well, I'm going to report the number of trash bags that my house puts out every week. And I was like, I see where you're going with this. Like you want to report the waste, but that's not comparable from one to the next, because I could have a half empty trash bag one day and a full trash bag the next day. So if we're going to do food waste, we need to have comparable measurements. So that's why I say like estimate by half cup or have a food scale if you have a food scale. But I don't want you to have to buy anything for this. I just want you to pick something that you're interested in tracking over the course of the semester and have a system for doing so. So you're going to track that. There's 2 places that you're going to send updates, and that's mostly just a reminder to do this. And then at the end, you're going to analyze this data. You're going to make a graph and you're going to analyze it. You're going to recalculate your footprint and see what happened from the beginning to the end. You're going to compare those, and then you're going to interpret and analyze your results. And I will say that there is not a requirement or an expectation that your footprint lower. If you want to take that on as a challenge for yourself, then by all means, but that is not an expectation and it's not a requirement. But a lot of students like to see what they can do with it. So if there's a particular, and sometimes students take this on it kind of fits into some personal goals. Like if you're trying to eat healthier or you're trying to walk more or drive less, just maybe think about what your goals are for the year or the semester and see if anything here fits for you. Okay, moving on. Go back. Don't go back, come back. Okay, so the next thing is a climate change infographic. So this is going to happen in week 11. I'll probably open it a little bit earlier than that. But with this, I want to give you a chance to demonstrate your creativity and critical thinking as you think about and describe an element of climate change. And the reason I picked climate change is it's one of the really key concepts that I want to make sure that everyone has a really good foundation on. But I also want to give you the opportunity to look into something that's really interesting to you. I just put examples of infographics on this. Plastic waste doesn't really fall into climate change, but it's an example of an infographic. So with this, you're going to be working on your communication, your critical thinking skills. You're going to create an infographic, but you're also going to create a short blurb that has you explaining your infographic and the data that you include in it. So this will come in week 11. That's just coming down the line, just so you're aware. All right, so let's meet some new people. Okay, so we're gonna do another group or another sharing. Okay. We're gonna keep going. Okay, so I mentioned the worldview essays. So in semesters past, we did 3 of these, and I've consolidated them down to 2 when I added the mini exams to try to make sure the workload stayed balanced. So we're gonna do 2 of these. So these, I will give you the template for what this looks like. And when I say essay, I really don't want anyone to get too excited or worked up. Like there's an essay, there's a template. I tell you exactly what to write and where to write it. Mirabelle, are you outside of the Peterson building? I used to be in that building. That's my old building. Yeah, BESC used to be in that before 2019, before they remodeled it. It's amazing now. Amazing. It did not look that good in 2019. Sorry, I just flashbacks. I love that building. Funny. Yeah. Okay, so back to worldview essays. So we're going to do 2 of these. I will give you the template. I'm going to show you an example in this meeting right now. But I want to say that these are going to be assessed through Perceptive. And this is Perceptive is a free tool that we're going to use. You'll get through it from Canvas. And it's a cloud-based double-blind peer review system. So in short, what it means is you will submit your essay in Perceptive. You will get to it through an assignment in Canvas. You'll submit your essay, and then you'll peer review 3 of your peers' essays, which everything will be blind. You won't know who you're peer reviewing, and they won't know who's peer reviewing them. And then when all that data is collected, I assess and I score a baseline. And from that, some algorithms are used to assess scores. You will also have the chance to provide feedback on the scores that you received and give feedback to your peers so that they can become better reviewers. So there's going to be more details about this. I give you links about like the whole idea behind worldviews, but to just briefly say your worldview in short is the way that you see the world. It seems like a very basic thing, but it's different for everyone. So your worldview is your perspective, and it influences how you act and the way that you move through the world and the decisions that you make. And sometimes, a lot of the times, we don't even realize that we're basing our decisions on our worldview. So I'm asking you to step back from that and think about your thinking using metacognition, which is a high-level critical thinking skill, and think about what you think and why. And I want you to hear what other people think and why they think it, because the world is filled with diverse ideas, and we need to be able to understand and work with other people that think differently than us. So we're going to do this. Going back, I'm going to change my screens real quick so that I can show you a template. Share screen share. There we go. Okay. So this is the template from summer. I'm going to adjust it, but the idea is the same. I just need to change the prompts and make sure that they're in the right order. But you'll get the template, and at the very beginning, I give you instructions. You would delete everything in this bracket. But these are just instructions. You have to make a copy of this because it's my original. So you're going to get a template in both Google and Word. But I give you instructions. You only have to write on one of the topics that are available. And I give you multiple ones so that you can pick the one that works for you, because you're going to have to write about what your worldview is. So you need to have an opinion, you need to have a perspective or a stance. And you need to be able to think about why you think the way that you do. And if you're uncomfortable sharing why you think the way that you do about something, then move on to a different topic. That's why there's multiple ones. So you're not going to put your name on the essay, because that would eliminate the blindness of it. You'll delete the sections that I tell you to delete. You answer the questions that you're asked to answer. And here's the key. You're required to include your course terms. And course terms are the terms that are in the glossary of the book. So if they're bolded, they're in the glossary of the book. Those are your course terms. You're required to include those and define them as you explain what your worldview is. I do not want you to explain what that course term is. Like, don't spend a whole paragraph telling me what an invasive species is, but you can use that first paragraph that explains your worldview, incorporate those course terms, and tell me what it is that you think about invasive species. Don't explain what the concept of invasive species is beyond just telling us what it is. So you'll define the courses, the terms with enough detail to demonstrate a full understanding of that topic or that term. And it's important. Let's move on. Okay, so that's the first part. So you'll explain your worldview. So we are seeing this. Okay, the first one, carrying capacity. So this is just an example. So I give you a little prompt that explains the concept. So the global human population is now over 7 billion. It talks about carrying capacity. And there are some people that believe that we will overshoot our carrying capacity. So the question for this prompt is, do you think humans can raise our carrying capacity? If so, how? If not, why not? Do you think the future's carrying capacity of Earth, you think the Earth's future carrying capacity for humans might decrease? If so, why or why not? So you have to explain what you think about this. And it's almost impossible to explain what you think about this without using the word carrying capacity. So you'd have to use the word carrying capacity and highlight it and define it, and then go on to say what it is that you think. So you can think yes and you can think no. It's really important that you all recognize that no one is getting graded based off of what their worldview is. You can have whatever worldview you have. No one is being judged on that. What you are being scored on and scored on and assessed on is your ability to explain what you think using course terms appropriately. So that means that you have to know what that word means so that you can use it appropriately. So that's the first part. You explain what your worldview is. The next part, and you do that with 6 lines of text. The next part is your reflection. And this is one of the places where students falter. In this section, I want you to explain how you formed your worldview. So this could be how you were raised. This could be classes that you took. This could be documentaries that you watched. This could be an amazing travel experience that you had, but you have to provide details. Tell a life story. It's very important that you do this because that's your reflection about how you formed your worldview. A very, very common mistake is to say, I was raised this way, and then go on to tell me what your worldview is. Like, my parents raised me to believe that, humans should take care of the earth, and we were told that this, that, and the other. Like, that's fine. If you were raised that way, then great, but tell me about specific life experiences. What did you do? What did your parents do? What happened? Tell me life experiences. So what did you do? It's the what did you do that needs to be here, not what do you think. So tell me life experiences. Tell me a little bit about your life that got you to where you think you are. And please don't lie. Please don't make something up. If you don't have something, move on to the next topic. Okay? Questions? Okay, good. All right, we're going to go back to our PowerPoint. Okay. The team project. So it's an online class and there's a team project. The reason there's a team project is because you're in a core curriculum course. Before you get upset about the fact that there's a project and it's an online class, I will tell you that I teach this class in the summer, and in the summer it's 5 weeks and they still have to do this project. And that's a really hard thing to do. So you have essentially 12 weeks to do this. So you got it. You can do this. The reason there's a team project is it's important to develop team skills. And I think that's one of the things, if you go back and look at the core curriculum objectives, they want you to be able to learn how to work in a team. So that doesn't mean they want you to learn how to like write a paper. Like, the point is the skills. The point is the process, and less so the result. I care about the result, don't get me wrong. But if you look at the weight, you'll see that the end result, which is the submit team project, it's 100 points. And then there are 150 other points that are earned along the way. The reason it's done this way is there's a couple of reasons. One is it requires you to space the project out. You can't do it in a week. I'm scaffolding it so that you work through the process and you manage the project. So that's one skill. You're also required to, you earn points as an individual contributing to the team process. So if you're not, I don't want to say you're, because that implies one of you in this room, but if a student were to wait until the last minute, like week 11, and then just show up to their team and say, tell me what to do, then based off of this, that would not go very well for them. So you have points that you earn along the way as you contribute to the team process. So that all of those points that you earn along the way, the individual points, it's 150 points, which is 60%. So 60% of all the points associated with the team project are earned by you, like something that you do. And then 100 points are earned by the deliverable. And to add to that, you are going to evaluate your team members in a blind system. So I'll get that data and I'll know what's happening, especially there's other ways that I hear about it as well. But there's a teammate evaluation that you get 5 points just for doing the teammate evaluation. That teammate evaluation gives me data about how each person in the team performed relative to communication, participation, initiative, all of these different things. So there's 20 points associated with participation that are determined based off of teammate evaluations. So your teammates are going to evaluate you on your participation. If you get all of those 20 overall participation points, that would be 100% of participation points. That's great. That means you are fully participating in your team and you're going to get 100% of the team project points. So note up here, percent determined by teammate evaluations. If, however, a student does not show up for their team, communicates very infrequently, doesn't do what they say will do, doesn't show up and show any initiative, just says, tell me what to do and I'll do it. They miss team meetings. They don't turn anything in until 5 minutes before the deadline. I would imagine that kind of behavior would lower the participation points. And if someone has like, say, 60% of the participation points, so let's say they get 60% of the participation points, then they will get 60% of the deliverable points. They will get 60% of the thing the team turned in. So if the team turned in a project that was worth 100 points, that student that got 60% of participation points would get a 60, because it's not fair for someone to free ride on everyone else and get the same grade. And so that's why it's set up. So this setup is designed to make it so that students don't have an adverse impact of their grade based off of someone not doing their job. So there's lots of checks and balances along the way to hopefully help you all to have a great teamwork experience and get the most out of it. All that said is I also have a low GPA teamwork policy. I know students have a lot going on. One of my colleagues that inspired this policy, was working full-time and taking 18 hours in college. I don't know how he did it, but he said he slept like 4 hours a night. And I asked him, I was like, well, how did you get through? And he's like, I made C's and D's. And that was my goal, to just make a C and a D, and then I could graduate. Well, he is now an assistant professor in Birmingham, Alabama, studying up his own master's program. So it worked out for him. Like, he got his degree. He just had to work his way through college. But I understand students have a lot going on. So I'm going to give you the option to opt in or opt out. If you opt in, you're in. Commit to the project. That's the team project acknowledgement and commitment that happens in this week. So acknowledge whether you're going to join this or not. But if you're in, and you're going to commit to the work. But if you know that you just can't pull this off, let's say, like, maybe you're doing 20 hours, like you've signed up for 20 hours of course credits and you're working half-time or you're working full-time, or whatever your reason is, you have the ability to opt out. And I would much rather we do this, that you recognize what you can and can't do at the beginning of the semester and just say, nope, I just can't do this. I don't want to put that burden on, like, I'm not going to, like, not show up for my team. Like, let's just admit it now and save ourselves the heartache and the frustration and all of those things that happen when someone doesn't show up for their team. So if you know this is your case, feel free to opt out. There's no shame, there's no judgment. It's just there for you if you need it. And usually I get 1 or 2 takers every semester, and that's fine. So just know that it's there for you if you need it. So to sum all this up, some of the things that we do. So we have weekly activities to achieve concept mastery and critical thinking. So we're going to read our assigned chapters, we're going to watch mini lectures and take notes. FYI, research shows that physically writing your notes out helps you learn better than typing your notes out, just so you know. We're going to have reading quizzes and mini exams. And then to work on communication and critical thinking, we're going to have worldview essays, the ecological footprint, the climate change infographic. Empirical and quantitative skills will be assessed with the ecological footprint and the climate change infographic. Teamwork will be developed through the team project, and content mastery will be assessed through the reading quizzes and the mini exams. Okay, all right, let's do one more. Let me pause. Okay. All right. All right. So I specifically designed this course to try to support student learning as much as possible and to help y'all recognize that every voice has something to contribute. I've been studying co-design for the past 18 months. And the idea behind co-design is to co-design courses and coursework and different things about the course with the students. And so to work with them as experts in their own right. And so just know that that's there. Also, I want you to just recognize that everyone comes to this class with different viewpoints and different experiences and different cultures. So let's be mindful of that and be respectful of other views that are expressed that might be different from yours. And know that I value all of the diversity and want everyone to feel welcome and comfortable, because if you're not comfortable, then it's really hard. If you don't feel like supported, then it's hard to learn. So I'm trying to do that for you. And if there's something that I can do to help you, then please let me know. But yes, I want you to show up as your authentic self so that your authentic self can learn and grow. All right, so my efforts to create an inclusive and supportive classroom. First is accessibility. I'm doing everything I can to make sure everything is accessible as possible for everyone. I'm trying to create an environment where people are comfortable expressing themselves and that you feel valued. Diverse perspectives are valued, and I try to bring in diverse perspectives as much as I can into content. I like to try to represent the works of scientists and authors with diverse backgrounds, and also just awareness that our worldviews influence our understanding. And I recognize that that's the same with me. So I try to check that at the door and make sure that I'm aware of that when I'm talking with y'all and scoring and all of those different things. So here's how you can help me. So if you have a preferred name and pronoun, then it would be really helpful if you told me what that was and sign your emails with it. This is one of the reasons I asked you to tell me what your preferred name was and how to pronounce it in that survey at the beginning. Here's an important thing. If you are experiencing something outside of class that's affecting your academic performance, I am here to help you. I have been here for 10 years and I was a student here for 6. So I've been around A&M and I know a lot of people and I know a lot of systems. And I know where to point students to go when they need help. So please don't wait to talk to me if something's going on. Like if you are like having a big problem, and it's affecting your coursework, don't wait like 3 weeks or 5 weeks or even 8 weeks to tell me, because it's really, really hard for me to help you in week 11, in week 12. But it's much, much easier for me to help you get on track and find the resources you need and support you in week 3 and week 4 and week 5. But if you wait all semester and then tell me, I've had a really hard semester and I just doing all these things and it wasn't working, and don't wait to tell me. Okay, just come to me and tell me something, like tell me what you need, and I will try to help you find the resources that you need and help support you. Feedback. Let me know if there's something that said that bothered you or made you feel uncomfortable. I'm trying to learn and make sure everyone feels valued and appreciated. If you have suggestions about different authors or scientists, then please share those with me. And if you have other ideas for how we can make our learning environment more supportive, then I welcome that as well. Okay, the Aggie Code of Honor. Aggie does not lie, cheat, or steal, and will tolerate those who do. I've been around the block, and I know that there's also borrow. Man, what did they call it? Lie, cheat, or steal. Collaborate, and borrow, something like that. But anyway, the Aggie Code of Honor means something, and I want to spend just a moment to talk about why it's there. So when you were accepted to Texas A&M, you were immediately committed to the Aggie Code of Honor, whether you know it or not. It's like driving down the road. You're required to know or adhere to the laws, even if you don't know what they are. So if you don't know how to go through a 4-way stop, it's expected that you'll still do it, and you'll get pulled over if you don't know, and you can't plead ignorance. Like, you're just required to know. So you're going to be held accountable to this standard, whether you know it or not. So I want you to know it. Years ago, I had an attempting graduating senior commit 2 different types of academic dishonesty on one assignment, and then told me I didn't know what I was doing was cheating. I didn't know what I was doing was wrong. Like, well, I'm sorry, but you still did it and it's wrong. And now you're not a graduating senior anymore, and you're going to have to wait a semester. So I don't want that to be you. So the required honesty quiz is designed to help you understand this code. And I need you to know that I, as a faculty member, and every other instructor is required by this code to report any type of academic dishonesty. It gets reported officially to the honor office. And the reason why you should care, the reason why that matters to you, is I presume you all want an Aggie ring and a diploma, and you want it to mean something. So if everyone cheats their way to the graduation podium, then your Aggie ring and your Aggie degree don't mean as much. But because we have the Aggie Honor Code and people are held accountable, then it does mean something. People aren't going to cheat their way to the end. So this is for your benefit. And know that the academic honor quiz is designed to be difficult. I'm just going to tell you that now. Most people don't get it right the first time. So read everything that I told you to read. Look at it closely. Look at the examples of different types of academic dishonesty. And then look at the answers when you get them back from your attempt and see what you got right and what you got wrong. If you've made 5 attempts and you are not getting it, then please email me and tell me the question that you're struggling with, and I will help you. But this is there to help you. Okay. If you have a disability accommodation, please, I should have your letter by now, but please if you have questions about that, you can talk to me. But I have designed this course to be what's called universally accessible. So most things are already accessible to the extent that students need them. But if there's additional things that you need, I will review your letters and make sure you have it. But if you have something that you want to specifically talk with me about, come talk to me. All right, we're going to skip that one. Communication. Please email me in Canvas. I get a lot of emails. So I have a faculty role and I have admin role. So essentially I live in 2 different worlds and I get emails from 2 different worlds. So please use Canvas because it's much easier for me to track a conversation with students there. You can address me by name. The co-design principles are designed to bring everyone on a level playing field, recognizing that students are learners and faculty are learners, and we're all here to learn and grow together. So address me however you would like. This is new for me. Normally I've been asked for students to call me Dr. Stoddard, but I am trying it out to just see how it fits. And so if you prefer Dr. Katie, if you prefer to call me Katie, if you prefer to call me Dr. Stoddard, call me what you will, but just call me by name. Know that that's not standard in Texas. So the expectation is most students will call their faculty by Dr. So-and-so. But I'm trying something new to help students feel like they have more skin in the game and that they are part of the learning community. If we start a conversation, please keep your end up. So help me help you. And I do my best to respond within 24 hours, Monday through Friday. But if you email me on the weekends, I may have to wait until Monday to reply to you. I have a lot going on, especially on the weekends, and I don't have the ability to really check much of my email on the weekend. But that is why you might notice in the syllabus that nothing is due on Sunday at 11:59. So please note that that is not my due date. If that kind of messes with your rhythms, because you're used to everything being due at Sunday at 11:59, then just turn everything in Sunday at 11:59. But my due dates are Mondays at 2 p.m. generally, because I'm not available at Sunday at 10 p.m. So if something were to go wrong, or you had a question or something, I'm not answering emails over the weekend because I have a busy family and professional life, and I generally don't have time to answer emails over the weekend. I try my best, but I don't want you to be in a situation where you need help from me and you can't get it. So that's why it's Monday at 2 p.m. So try to email me during the week about a question that you have rather than the weekend, and that will help. Absences or missed work. So there's no absences really, but you might have a missed work kind of thing. So if you have an extended illness or something like that, that's one thing. But sometimes life just happens. So I get it, like a car breaks down, a cat dies, a cat gets sick, something happens, and you can't get to the Monday at 2 p.m. deadline. That is why I have the contingent 24-hour no policy act or policy thing. So this NQAP is designed to help you just deal with life. So you are students have full lives, and I recognize that, and I want to make sure that I'm supporting you in that process. So if you know you're going to miss a due date, the weekend was super busy, you had family in town, whatever it is, it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter to me at all. Then you fill out the NQAP, and it buys you 24 hours on everything. So the quizzes stay open until Tuesday at 2 p.m. The peer reviews and the feedback stay open until Tuesday at 2 p.m. to account for this. But the point is that you fill out that form within 24 hours of the due date, and you finish the work within 24 hours of the due date. So if you need work beyond that, like if you know that you're going to miss it beyond that, then just know that the late penalty is 10% by day. But that I don't keep quizzes open past 2 p.m. on Tuesdays. If you have an excused absence, then please email me within 3 working days of the end of that excused absence. Please don't wait 2 weeks to tell me, because if you wait 2 weeks to tell me, then I can't help you. So tell me soon, tell me within 3 days of the end of that doctor's note, and then I can help you to make that up. So any questions about the no questions asked policy? Also, you don't have to email me. The reason why, it's a Google form. Like if you all emailed me to use it on a Monday, I would never be able to respond to anyone's emails because I'd have 200 emails in my inbox. So don't email me about it. Just know that you can use it for the cat being sick, or you had to go home, or whatever it is. So, all right. With that, are there questions? No. Okay. Want to look at Perceptive real quick to just give you guys. So I'm going to stop the recording here, and I'm going to start back up again with Perceptive so that